I woke up to a dragging noise, but it was too dark to see the source. I heard my son's voice say, "Dad, remember when you said you wished you could see Mom just one last time?" I asked the time traveler from a future time if he could prevent the Holocaust, which was not the answer I expected to hear. I ignored my daughter when she asked me, "What is that man doing on the side of the road?" Her next question chilled my blood. "Why is he wrapped in garbage bags?" We've been cleaning up orbit to reduce the risk of space junk damaging our satellites. So far, we've found satellite arrays, detached solar panels, and, most worryingly, human bones. John walked into my office in obvious distress and said, "Doc, I honestly don't know how to describe it, so you'll just have to see for yourself." When he lifted his shirt and showed me his abdomen, I could see dozens of hand-shaped bulges pushing outward. Lightning flashed, and for a second I swore I could see somebody in my window, only to turn and see an empty room. When the lightning flashed again, suddenly my view of the room was blocked entirely by a bloody face with wild eyes and a manic grin. I felt nauseous, stomach prickling, and began retching a torrent of blackness into the toilet. Within seconds, you couldn't see the porcelain for the spiders. My son was so excited when he had some trouble reeling his line back in, only to find that it was just a big clump of bear moss. As I grasped the bundle of dark brown strands to throw it back in the lake, I realized it wasn't moss, but human hair. The winning lottery ticket trembled in my quivering grip. Out of the rampant excess of humanity in this overpopulated world, I had been chosen to be terminated. The wind blowing through the darkened forest stilled and then stopped. The rustling in the foliage around me didn't. I backed away from the locked basement door as it began to bow and crack. The door split to pieces, and a flood of toddlers with black eyes scrabbled towards me on the floor, walls, and ceiling. The voice in my head shrieked, "I'm through with you." My eyes began bulging outward amid rivulets of blood from the immense strain of something pushing from inside my skull. "Beautiful, just beautiful," I spoke softly to myself, amazed at my choir as my fingers danced over the organ keys. These bellows make the choir sound even better than when they were alive. The girl watched a scary video in the comfort of her room, unaware of the figure in her window. "Why don't you go to sleep already?" I ran and ran some more, but I couldn't outrun my wife's screams when I shot her lover. I rolled over to my side and felt her doing it again, tickling my face with her hair. I opened my eyes, only to see my wife hanging limply from the ceiling, her blonde hair dangling down towards me. I always felt invisible in high school. Every time I would pick up my pencil to write, people started screaming. Since I'm afraid of the dark, I know that it takes me exactly 5 steps from the light switch to reach my bed on the other side of the room, but tonight, after going 12 steps without touching anything, I started running. You know that smile that makes you feel safe and at home? A genuine smile that makes you let down your defenses and trust someone? It's so hard to fake, but I think I finally got it. The crash test dummy works perfectly, but why is it bleeding? Why did she have to die? I wasn't done with her yet. I thought I had the upper hand on that deer until it stood up on its hind legs. I giggled as my wife got frightened by the footsteps soundtrack I played last night. I wasn't laughing this morning when I woke to see I hadn't started the video yet. As a horse lover, the sound of hoofprints is never unwelcome, except when I hear it on my wooden floors in the middle of the night. "Daddy, this man is trying to take me away." You thought you could just take him without payment? I could feel the heat of the flames on my face as the house caught fire. If only I could see. Another man broke in to steal some of my livestock, and he nearly made off with one before leaving it behind. As I locked it up again, it quietly said, "Please, just let me go." The boy had run away from home again. Somebody hadn't fastened the lock. The astronauts returned from Mars to a confusing, distressed reception. Nobody on Earth remembered sending them. The overnight security footage showed several identical people congregating for many hours, only stopping when the lights came on with the arrival of the morning crew. I don't want to believe the mannequins are conscious, but I'm running out of other explanations. I keep seeing red eyes in my security camera feed, but the cameras, they're black and white. I was thrilled to receive my first call from the app, Be My Eyes, until she sobbed into the phone asking me if she was alone, and I couldn't yell no fast enough. Last night, I could have sworn I saw somebody outside of my window looking in at me. I was so hopeful, but of course, there's no one left. My dog, wagging his slender tail excitedly, dropped to the bone at my feet. 3 more, and my daughter will be whole again. My 4-year-old said he wished people didn't have to knock. I told him about doorbells, and he asked me to install one on his window. Every night, someone knocks at my door, but even after a full year, the radiation levels are still too high to open it. I open the door to a policeman that tells me my husband died in a car crash on the way home. As I turn my head to see him eating the dinner I just served, he starts grinning at me. Despite putting me in a straitjacket and a padded room, the nurses still found new cuts and bruises on me each morning. When will they finally believe me when I say I'm not schizophrenic? "It sounds like there's a young girl in there asking for help," I said into my radio frantically. My supervisor replied, "Yeah, it tries that one on all the new guys. Don't fall for it." He found an odd black string while cutting the stitches in his patient's wound. He kept pulling and pulling until suddenly the man fell apart. As I watched the gigantic tentacles race towards me from the dark, endless abyss below me, I can only think one thing. Space isn't so empty, after all. If we're living in a simulation, why aren't there any glitches? If we're living in a simulation, why aren't there any glitches? Any glitches? Sir, A143's reports state that it feels afraid. But we didn't program that into it, did we? I reached carefully under my son's pillow to retrieve his newly lost teeth. I found only a note in unfamiliar handwriting that said, "These aren't yours." My little boy keeps eating gravel and rocks. "Good boy," I tell him as I row towards deeper waters. He asked me if I wanted to play 2 truths and a lie. He went on to say, "I'll go first. Your father sold you to me. I killed your sister, and you're not getting out of my basement alive." If you've never driven into a wall of fog, you probably wouldn't know to slow down. And if you've never felt the crunch of a body under your wheels in that cloudy mess, you'd probably want to stop, but I assure you, it is essential to keep driving and stay in your car.